Please ask your captor to let you go. We love you. She is my cielito linda. Please let her go.
One summer afternoon seemed perfectly normal, until a stranger approached with an innocent question about a lost child who was gone for a few seconds. A 5-year-old girl had disappeared, but what the researchers would uncover next would reveal something far darker. Samantha Runyan, born on July 26, 1996, was the daughter of Derek and Erin Runyan. After Erin and Derek separated, Derek moved to Sunderland, Massachusetts. But the distance did not keep them apart. He still sent letters and gifts, and Samantha often flew out to visit her father. He said he loved her more than anything in the world. Samantha loved sunflowers. She liked superheroes, enjoyed dressing up like a princess, and especially loved Disney's Hercules. Hercules was her hero. A large poster of the character was placed right above her bed, where a 5-year-old girl believed her world was still safe. She had just finished first grade. Smart, making progress, always full of energy. 6:30 p.m., July 15th, 2002. 5-year-old Samantha was sitting on the sidewalk in front of the Smoke Tree apartment complex, playing a board game with 6-year-old Sarah. Her grandmother was nearby in the apartment. Her mother and her mother's boyfriend were still at work. It was a normal summer afternoon in Stanton, California. The sun was still bright. Kids were still outside in the central courtyard, a place everyone believed was safe. Then a green car drove past the two girls. A man got out. He walked up to them and asked what sounded like an innocent question. Had they seen a small missing dog? A chihuahua, he said, had just disappeared. Samantha asked how big the dog was. The man suddenly lunged forward, restrained her, and dragged her straight toward the car. Samantha kicked, struggled, and screamed. A 5-year-old fighting back with everything she had. Sarah A. froze, unable to react. In that chaotic moment, Samantha shouted to her friend, "Go get my grandma!" The car door slammed shut. The vehicle pulled away from that small street within seconds.
Lured into a car by a stranger. One of the latest on the kidnapping in a live report. The child was reportedly kicking and screaming as the kidnapper grabbed her and threw her into his car. Right now, an intensive search is underway.
Samantha and another little girl were playing here on a small street in the Smoke Tree Townhomes complex. Around 6:30 this evening, a man drove up to the girls and asked them to help him find his puppy. When Samantha bent over to ask him about the size of the dog, he grabbed her and drove off. Samantha's grandmother was just around the corner, didn't see anything. Neighbors are shocked.
It's a small community. Everybody knows each other. Everybody trusts each other. I don't know what kind of sick person would do this. I mean, come up in here? What's wrong with them?
I'm absolutely shocked. I mean, personally, I never expected anything like this to happen in the community like this. Everybody around here, basically watches out for each other. And when something like this happens, it's depressing and shocking at the same time.
And now, the investigation carried an almost suffocating sense of urgency. Not only because Samantha was taken in broad daylight, with her grandmother inside the apartment and her best friend just a few steps away, but also because in child abduction cases, the first hours are always critical. Her description was broadcast everywhere: a white blouse, red plaid shorts, and pink sandals with green frog prints. It became the detail an entire community held onto, with the fragile hope that someone, somewhere, would see her and recognize her. Sarah A. was only 6 years old. She had just watched her friend being restrained and taken away, only a few steps from where she stood. But when officers approached her, even though she was still shaking, Sarah A. gave a clear description. The man had slicked back black hair and a black mustache. The car was light green, the way he stepped out, the way he spoke. Those details were enough for a sketch artist to create a composite drawing of the suspect. The sketch was distributed across Orange County within hours. Hundreds of calls came in. Vehicles matching the description were stopped and checked. About 24 hours after Samantha was abducted, a 911 call came from a remote area near Lake Elsinore, about 50 miles from her home. The caller was a hang glider who had noticed something unusual in a wooded area. The dispatcher asked the caller to stay calm. Units were on their way to the scene. But when authorities confirmed the identity, the fear that the family and the community had tried not to think about became reality. It was the remains of Samantha Runyon. The medical examiner could not determine the exact object or method used to apply that pressure. Investigators also noted that her body had been placed in a sexually suggestive position, a detail that indicated a disturbed motive and reinforced the conclusion that they were searching for a deliberate sexual predator. FBI Special Agent Richard Garcia later stated that the way Samantha's body was left was not random. According to him, the fact that she was not buried suggested a defiant message, almost a statement that the perpetrator was not afraid. An implied message, "I'm here." Because of this, investigators believed that if not caught, this individual could continue to offend. Dear everyone, I'd like to take a moment of silence to remember Samantha. Join me in filling the comments with white dove or white heart icons. In a world filled with the darker sides of true crime documentary, your kindness and compassion are the light that helps us hold on to our belief in justice. Based on the forensic findings, the time of death was estimated to be between 8 p.m., July 15th, 2002, and 2 a.m., July 16th, 2002. A short window of time, but enough to mark the heartbreaking end of the disappearance. Samantha was just 1 week away from turning 6. Erin had already bought her daughter's birthday gifts, a set of Lincoln logs, a dinosaur puzzle, and a new dress for her Barbie doll. The gifts had been purchased, but they would never be opened. Samantha's identity was officially confirmed through visual identification by her grandmother. That evidence could directly identify the person responsible. More than 500 FBI agents were mobilized to assist. The scope of the investigation expanded rapidly. From that point on, the case shifted completely. This was no longer a search for an abductor. It was a search for a killer. When appearing before the media, Orange County Sheriff Michael S. Corona chose an unusual approach. He did not just speak to the public, he spoke directly to the suspect. Looking straight into the camera, he delivered a clear message.
Don't sleep, don't eat, because we're coming after you. We will take every resource that's available to us to bring you to justice.
The sheriff's warnings were aimed at the suspect, but the people losing sleep were the residents of Stanton. Fear spread quickly. Garage doors that were once left open were now shut tight. Children no longer played in the central courtyard the way they used to. Night seemed to fall earlier in people's minds. Smoke Tree had once been a close-knit community. Now it was a row of silent apartments behind locked doors. More than 2,000 tips were sent to law enforcement. People watched more carefully. They memorized unfamiliar cars. They called when something felt off. But investigators still needed a real breakthrough, and that turning point came from a 6-year-old girl. The composite sketch based on Sarah A.'s description appeared everywhere, on local television, in newspapers, at gas stations and stores. The face with slicked-back black hair and a black mustache was now recognized across the area. It was only a matter of time before a name was attached to that face. A woman named Tammy D saw the sketch on television and recognized it. She contacted police and gave them a name: Alejandro Avila. Avila was 27 years old, 6 feet 2 inches tall, and weighed about 200 pounds. His physical appearance closely matched the sketch created from Sarah A.'s description. That information was quickly investigated. After 4 intense days of searching, Orange County Sheriff's deputies arrested Avila. His apartment in Lake Elsinore was searched. He was questioned for nearly 12 hours on suspicion of involvement in the abduction and killing of Samantha Runyon. The investigation, which had begun with a sketch and a tip call, now had a specific suspect. At the time, Alejandro Avila was living with his sister, Elvira Avila, in an apartment on Riverside Drive in Lake Elsinore. His mother, Adelina, and another sister, Adelita, also lived in the same complex. The apartment was about 10 miles from where Samantha was found. On the day Samantha was taken, Avila was supposed to prepare dinner for the family. The meal was expected between 6 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. But instead of staying home, transaction records show he drove throughout the afternoon and evening across multiple areas in Southern California. Bank data confirmed he withdrew cash from a Bank of America ATM in Lake Elsinore at 5:18 p.m., July 15, 2002. In the hours that followed, he stopped at 2 different gas stations. Then, just before 9 p.m., he checked into a Comfort Inn hotel. These timestamps were not minor details. They became the backbone of reconstructing his movements on the night Samantha disappeared. To verify statements and transaction data, investigators decided to recreate Avila's entire route. 1 week later, they began at exactly 5:18 p.m., the minute he made the ATM withdrawal in Lake Elsinore. From there, they drove each recorded segment. They stopped at the Smoke Tree apartment complex, the place where Samantha had been taken from the area. They continued to the remote area where Samantha was found. They visited the 2 gas stations records showed he stopped at that night. Finally, they ended at the Comfort Inn, where he checked in just before 9 p.m. The total distance calculated from the Bank of America branch to the hotel, including all major stops, was approximately 202 miles. The estimated direct driving time was about 3 hours and 24 minutes. Including the stops, it was about 3 hours and 40 minutes. The reconstruction showed that this route fully aligned with the time frame of Samantha's abduction and the estimated time of death. During the test drive, investigators arrived at the Smoke Tree apartment complex at 6:17 p.m., matching the time Samantha was restrained and taken, according to witness accounts. They continued along the recorded stops and reached the Comfort Inn at 8:57 p.m. That timestamp aligned with transaction data and hotel check-in records. There were no unusual gaps, no significant discrepancies. In addition, Alejandro's sister stated that he was familiar with the remote area where Samantha was found. She remembered going there with him before to watch a meteor shower at that exact location. The day after the incident, Alejandro told his sister he had spent the previous afternoon at the beach. During that conversation, she noticed a fresh scrape on the inside of his knee. When asked about it, he said he had caught himself on the leg of a child safety gate inside the home. But according to his sister, the gate was made of smooth plastic with no sharp edges. She believed it was unlikely to have caused that kind of injury. Meanwhile, authorities announced they had collected substantial physical evidence linking Avila to the case, including DNA. His 1994 Ford Thunderbird matched the description provided by Sarah A. Investigators also noted that the vehicle's tire tread pattern was consistent with impressions found near the area where Samantha was discovered. The scattered details began forming a clearer picture. DNA analysis became central to the prosecution's case. Biological material found inside Avila's vehicle matched Samantha's genetic profile, with the rarity estimated at less than 1 in 1 trillion. Conversely, DNA consistent with Alejandro Avila's profile was identified in samples collected from beneath Samantha's fingernails. The probability of a random match was estimated at approximately 1 in 600 million people. Prosecutors argued that this indicated a struggle had taken place between the two. Beyond the DNA, the scene also revealed tire impressions, shoe prints, and a single footprint near the area where Samantha was discovered. None of the shoes recovered from his apartment matched those impressions. However, surveillance footage from one of the gas stations he stopped at that night showed Avila wearing athletic shoes. Sales records from a local store confirmed that in September 2001, he had purchased a pair of size 12 shoes. During the search of his apartment, investigators found the shoebox, but the shoes themselves were missing. That detail drew their attention. What made authorities even more concerned was that Avila had previously been put on trial over an old allegation involving a minor. That case ended in an acquittal. His family denied all accusations. Avila's mother claimed the earlier allegations stemmed from personal conflict and had been exaggerated. She believed her son's arrest in Samantha's case was not based on new evidence, but influenced by lingering suspicion from the prior matter. She stated she did not believe her son was capable of committing such an act. "I don't think my son did anything," she said. Alejandro's mother described her son as gentle with children. She said that after the previous trial, he was especially cautious, never alone with young kids. "My son is never aggressive," she said. "He has always behaved well with children." She also admitted she had seen the scrapes on his leg. Investigators believed those marks were consistent with a struggle, but she rejected that conclusion. According to her, they came from the child safety gate inside the home. She believed her son was being unfairly targeted. She offered an explanation that at the time Samantha was taken, he was shopping at a local mall. His family stood by him. The investigative record said otherwise. Alejandro also denied any involvement in the case. He repeated what his mother had said, that at the time Samantha was taken, he was out shopping. His mother later described a conversation they had before his arrest. They were watching a news report about Samantha's disappearance. She said that, in a moment of anger, she stated that the person responsible should face the maximum punishment under the law. Alejandro reportedly responded, "What about the electric chair?" She replied that even that would not be enough. It was a brief exchange, but when it was later repeated in court, it left many in the courtroom silent. Orange County Sheriff Michael S. Corona told the media they were confident they had arrested the right person. He admitted the case affected him personally. Looking straight into the camera, he said, "I told you we would hunt you down. If you thought we were just talking, tonight you know how serious we are." It was not just an announcement. It was a statement to an entire community watching closely. After the arrest was made public, residents began gathering outside the Smoke Tree apartment complex. Fresh flowers, teddy bears, and handwritten cards were placed along the walkway. A temporary memorial formed right where Samantha once played. About 250 people stood close together, holding hands, praying. A community that once felt safe was now learning how to grieve together. Erin Runyon stood before the memorial, trying to remain composed as the crowd watched. She thanked the community for not turning away, but her message was clear. Take care of one another and watch every child, not just your own. Derek, Samantha's father, repeated that plea. "Please watch your children," he said. "Don't let them out of your sight. I think about her every morning when I wake up, and every night before I go to sleep. Daddy loves you. Daddy misses you, Samantha." While the community mourned, detectives returned to the next critical question. Had Alejandro Avila been familiar with the Smoke Tree apartment complex before that day? This true crime documentary shows a mother's worst fear. Could it happen again? And it reveals the deep fear shared by every parent. It reminds us, protect children before it is too late. according to the Associated Press, a man named Louis, the brother of Alejandro's former girlfriend, told reporters that Avila had previously been at the Smoke Tree apartment complex. Louis said he had gone there to see his former girlfriend's 11-year-old daughter. The girl's mother said she was afraid of him. She believed he may have returned to the complex intending to approach her daughter. "I think he went there because of my child," she said. But instead, he took this little girl. That statement changed how many people looked back at that day. Alejandro Avila was later charged with murder, kidnapping, and 2 counts related to forcible sexual conduct involving a child. Prosecutors said they could pursue the death penalty based on the special circumstances outlined in the charges. The Orange County District Attorney told the press, "Let me be clear. Anyone who commits an act like this in Orange County will face the highest consequences under the law." It was a firm message. Direct. Meanwhile, the church where Samantha's funeral was held was filled to capacity. Every pew was occupied. People from across the area came to pay their respects. Erin stood before them, trying to keep her voice steady. "Nothing can bring our daughter back," she said. But she also acknowledged something else. The way the case was handled, with transparency and integrity, brought a measure of comfort. The family said they were overwhelmed by the love the community showed for Samantha. They had always believed she was special. They just never imagined her light would be spoken of under these circumstances. A packed church, a community standing together, and a family learning how to move forward after the unchangeable. The trial of Alejandro Avila was more than a legal proceeding. It was the moment when all the evidence was laid out. Prosecutors argued that phone records and financial transactions placed Avila in the area at the time Samantha was taken. Forensic testing also showed DNA consistent with his profile was found in samples collected from beneath Samantha's fingernails. For the prosecution, it was a tightly linked chain of evidence. But the defense pushed back forcefully. Attorney Philip Zalewski argued that the DNA evidence was unreliable. He claimed the samples were not collected properly and pointed to inconsistencies in witness statements. Issues, he said, led investigators to focus on the wrong person. Speaking to the media, Deputy District Attorney David Brent rejected that claim. He stated that no evidence had been planted and called the defense argument baseless. Inside the courtroom, 2 opposing narratives were presented. One side said the case was undeniable. The other said reasonable doubt still existed. And now, all eyes were on the jury. Judge William Froberg allowed jurors to hear testimony from 2 girls connected to the 2001 case, the case in which Alejandro had been prosecuted but later acquitted. A 3rd young witness was also permitted to testify. One of the girls said that when she was about 7 years old, Alejandro sometimes babysat her at night. She alleged that during that time, he engaged in inappropriate conduct when he was supposed to be caring for her. According to her testimony, it happened multiple times over the course of about a year. She also said she witnessed similar behavior involving another family member. In the earlier trial, there was no physical evidence. The case had relied largely on testimony, and the jury returned a not guilty verdict. The current trial brought those accounts back into the courtroom, not to retry the past, but to provide context about the alleged conduct. Alejandro's sister also testified. She said that after he was acquitted, they once watched the movie Double Jeopardy together. And according to her, Alejandro made a comment she never forgot. "I could do whatever I want to that little girl, and I can't be charged for it because of the Double Jeopardy law." Alejandro's former girlfriend said that during their relationship, he showed interests that concerned her. She testified that he sometimes asked her to wear outfits styled to look like a young teenager. Another witness, who had once lived in the same home with him, testified that after Alejandro moved out, materials containing child exploitative content were found in his bedroom. A third girl alleged that when she was 11 years old, he engaged in inappropriate conduct toward her. She said he threatened her not to reveal what happened. Prosecutors argued that these testimonies demonstrated a pattern of behavior. They contended that Samantha was killed to prevent the defendant from facing similar allegations again. After obtaining a search warrant, investigators seized a computer from his sister's apartment. She testified that she did not access any inappropriate content and that Alejandro had permission to use the device. A detective specializing in cybercrime analyzed the hard drive. He testified that numerous images involving child exploitation were found. The files had been deleted, but were recovered through digital forensic techniques. At 4:43 a.m., July 14, 2002. One day before Samantha was abducted, that computer was used to print a multi-page story containing content related to the sexual abuse of children. Digital forensic investigators also discovered records of an online chat from an account using the name Girl Lover and an individual in Finland. The exchange showed an interest in children under the age of 12. Prosecutors viewed this as evidence of intent and mindset before the crime occurred. After nearly 9 hours of deliberation over 2 days, the Orange County Superior Court jury, 8 men and 4 women, returned to the courtroom with a unanimous verdict. 30-year-old Alejandro Avila was found guilty of kidnapping, sexual assault, and the murder of Samantha. As the clerk read the verdict, Aaron gasped and broke down in tears. 2 jurors also began to cry. At the defense table, Alejandro sat hunched between his attorneys, looking down, his face expressionless. The trial was over, but for Samantha's family, the loss did not end there. Across the courtroom, the atmosphere remained heavy after the guilty verdict. Yet the legal process was not finished. The court announced that the jury would return the following Wednesday to begin the sentencing phase. They would face a final decision, whether Alejandro Avila would receive the death penalty or life in prison without the possibility of parole.
The fact of the matter is that one's down, but my baby's still gone. And there are still going to be children victimized if we don't do something to stop it. So I have to beg you all to help me make sure that we can stop these crimes against our children.
With the guilty verdict delivered, the trial moved into its final stage, sentencing. Beginning the following Wednesday, the jury had to choose between 2 options: the death penalty or life in prison without the possibility of parole. The defense urged the jury to reject capital punishment. They argued the act was not premeditated but impulsive, shaped by a deeply unstable childhood. Alejandro's family history was presented in court. In 1989, his father was arrested on charges involving children, and the siblings were removed from the home. Later, his father was convicted in a shooting that resulted in a neighbor's death. Years afterward, Alejandro's brother was found deceased in Mexico from a gunshot wound. His attorney described a family fractured across generations, marked by poverty, violence, and accumulated trauma. But the jury did not accept that argument as sufficient mitigation to avoid the maximum penalty. They recommended the death sentence. The judge upheld that recommendation. In delivering the sentence, the court stated that the defendant's actions had destroyed a family's future and caused irreversible harm. The court declared that through his conduct, the defendant had forfeited any claim to leniency under the law. The case of Samantha Runyon was not just a death sentence handed down in Orange County. It was a wake-up call. At the Smoke Tree apartment complex, people once believed daytime meant safety. Garage doors were open. Children played outside. No one thought the worst could happen in just a few minutes. But it did. And the lesson was clear. Children need to be taught how to respond when approached by strangers. Parents need to know where their kids are, not out of fear, but out of responsibility. Communities need to speak up when something feels wrong. One early call can change everything. After this case, the Amber Alert system was expanded. The Joyful Child Foundation was created. Child safety education programs were introduced in schools. But laws and organizations are only part of the answer. The rest is up to us. A true crime documentary can retell the story. But the responsibility to protect children does not live in a film. It lives in every family. Talk to your kids. Teach them to trust their instincts. Make sure they know where to run when they feel unsafe. Samantha's legacy is a reminder we cannot ignore. Protecting children is not a reaction after tragedy. It must be action before something terrible happens.
If I could motivate all of those people who cried for Samantha, who cared for her, who were outraged, to show all of that energy to the children that we could still protect, then we could prevent these crimes from ever happening again. And that is what we are trying to do.
More than 100 children have been saved since California's launch of the Amber Alert system, including Tamara Brooks, who learned the history behind the statewide abduction alert for the first time today.
What a massive sacrifice that was taken, which saved my life. And it broke my heart. It broke my heart that it takes horrible moments like this for good to come out of it.
Erin Runyon refused to let her daughter's story end with a sentence in court. She turned her pain into action. Through the Joyful Child Foundation, she built a nationwide network focused on child safety education across the United States. Programs teach children how to recognize danger, trust their instincts, and seek help. Communities are trained. Law enforcement works alongside volunteers. Parents are given practical knowledge, not fear, but skills. Thousands of children have been reached, and every child who knows how to say no. Every child who knows how to run to safety. Every child protected in time is part of Samantha's legacy. Her story did not end on a hillside. It continues in every safety classroom, in every community that chooses to stay alert, and in every family that decides not to ignore warning signs. Samantha was only 5 years old, but her impact changed how an entire state approaches child protection.